Figueroa here. In this video file, we are going to go over how to keyframe a character that has a character set and also is using the HumanIK. So what I'm going to do in Maya here, I'm going to open up my scene. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Open. And I previously created in a previous video a file that I named Ready for Animation. So it's this one here, Happy the Designer Ready for Animation. I'm going to go ahead and open up this file. And I'm going to go ahead and just see what we have. So within this file, we have our character that has the rigging control using the HumanIK. I'm going to go ahead and display the HumanIK. And what we also have is the character set. I want to make sure that my character set is selected. Right now, it's not currently selected, so I'm going to go and just click right here and select Happy character set. And just to make sure, I want to make sure that my time slider, I'm in the animation preferences, that my time slider is set to 24 frames per second, and the playback is set to 24 frames times 1. And make sure that it's not set to play every frame, because this is Maya just trying to play every frame as fast as I can. So it can go slower, but typically it'll go faster if your computer's powerful enough. So I have it set to 24 frames per second, tell it save. And what I want to do, I'm also going to temporarily hide the sky dome light that I have in here. So I'm just going to select it. I do have my outliner open. If you do not have your outliner, it's under Window, Outliner. And I'm just going to select it. And I'm just going to select, I'm going to hide it. I'm going to hold Control H to hide it. And I also have the floor plane right here. This is my disk one. I'm going to go ahead and name it. Just call it the floor plane. I should have done that earlier. And let me just go ahead and update this file to save it. But now what I want to do is, for this file, I want to go ahead and I do not want to change any of the settings to this file because it's set. This is my template. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go ahead and tell it Save Scene As. This will make a duplicate of this file, but it also allows me to change the name. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this to, I want to do a demonstration also of a walk across the screen. So I'm going to call it Walk Across. And I'm going to go and tell it to save, continue. And you can see that this file is now it's a duplicate of my original Ready for Animation, but now it's called Walk Across. So I can use this one. I could change it, and it's not going to change any of my settings of my Ready for Animation file. So to animate this controller, this the HumanIK, what I first want to do is let's go into the animation menu set. I'm already there. Under Key, let's go into the Set Key option box just to talk about a couple of settings that we have right here. Under Set Keys, right now, I'm going to go ahead and just have this one selected, all manipulator handles and keyable attributes. What this is going to do, this is going to add keys for, if you have a tool, say for example, let me go ahead and select one. I'm going to select my Move tool by pressing W on my keyboard. And let me go ahead and just select, like, for example, the root, or not the root, sorry, it's the hips. And since I have this one selected, all manipulator handles would be your X, Y, and Z. And keyable attributes, anything else that can have a key, it will give it a key. So that's that option. For all keyable attributes, anything that already has a key or that can be keyed, it'll just do that, not disregarding the manipulator handle. You could tell it's just for a specific tool. Right here, I have, for example, I have the left wrist and current manipulator handles. So right now, it's going to be, or I'm sorry, all manipulator handles, the X, Y, and Z, only for the translate for the wrist. Or I could do it even specifically, only key the move, the translate for X for the wrist, for whichever manipulator, for whatever effector you have selected. For right now, I am going to select all manipulator handles, but I'm going to talk about one of the bad things about this, or one of the cons, I should say. It's good to start off. It's going to key everything. As a new user with Maya, that could be helpful. But you'll find out later on that it's going to key everything. And it's going to require you to go into the graph editor and maybe delete some keys that you don't necessarily want there. But it's good to know what's being keyed to start off. I'm going to go ahead and just I'm going to tell it to apply. I'm going to see that it might add a key. Yes, it added a key. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Oh, before I do this, I should mention set keys at. If we're going to be manually setting a keyframe, we could tell it at current time, or we could prompt. And I want to tell it to set full body keys turned on. I'm going to go ahead and close this window. And notice that now I have this red tick. And for example, if I deselect my object, notice that the red tick is still there because I have my character set. But for right now, I do not want a key at frame 13. So I'm going to click on this, click at frame 13. I'm going to, with my mouse, I'm going to press the right mouse button, and I'm going to tell it to delete. I'm going to delete that key. So what we have right here is our character and how to keyframe our with this character. What you do, what I would suggest that we do first is I'm going to pose my character. And for this, I'm going to pose my character so that I'm able to start a walk cycle. So I'm just going to do a couple of frames. What I'm going to be doing is I want to start off with a contact. So what I like to do, I like first to select the hips right here, and the hips is going to tell it where it's going to be at, where the character's at. Right now, the feet, or the ankles specifically, they are locked. You can see there's the TR. That means that to translate and rotate are locked. So I'm gonna drop her hips a bit down. So how much? Maybe like this, so that her knees could bend. Because what I want to do, I want to start posing my character. So I'm going to make sure that I'm at frame 1. And for this animation, it's actually going to be probably a 1-second animation. So frame 1 and frame 25 frame 25, it will be repeating. I'm going to go ahead and pose this character. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back. I want to make sure that I just click this right here, so that actually I just want this one. I'm going to put her foot back. And this is where I also want to make sure that I want to use all my views. Oh, and this is also a good opportunity to also talk about my cameras right here. In that, if you notice my top view, it looks like half of her torso is chopped off. In fact, it's not chopped off. The problem is the placement of where my camera is at, because I'll also notice, let me demonstrate this with an object. I'm just going to create a polygon primitive sphere. And we just have this sphere right here. And oh, I just went away. So let's go ahead and create it again. I accidentally press undo. So I have my object right here. Now notice what happens within my perspective view. I can see my object, no problem. But if I raise it a bit, notice that it disappears within the top view. And if I look at my front view, as I move it forward, at a certain point, it's going to disappear within the front view. And what's causing this is not, I initially thought that this was an issue with with the clip plane. It's not that. It just happens that I'm going to move this off to the side. Right now, my actual cameras are hidden, and that's by default. Mine does that. I'm going to select the top view, and you'll notice that I'm going to go ahead and press Shift H to show my camera, and you can now see where the camera's at. It's at waist level. So in my top view, you can see that's why I only see the top of my, or the waist down. I'm going to go ahead and move this up. Now I could see more of my character. So it's actually changing the placement of where the camera's at. I'm just going to raise it up. And the same goes with my front view. I'm going to press Shift H just to temporarily display it. And you can see right here, as that sphere was going through, when it starts to disappear. Now, since I'm going to be walking my character forward, I need to push my cameras back. So with this camera selected, I'm just going to go ahead and move this off forward so that I could easily see my scene. But okay, now here's another thing that happens that I'm going to show you how we could change this for each individual camera or in total. You'll notice that as I move this, it starts to disappear. That's the clip plane. And so it is rearing its ugly head. So I'm going to go ahead and you'll see the same thing with this view right here for the top view. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this back right here. And what you could do, one, let's try to go into the settings and animation settings. So I just use this little icon. This is a shortcut. Or you could always go into Windows and go into settings and preferences. And what I'm going to do under cameras, they do have, okay, the default cameras is already set to 0.001 and 10,000. Let me cancel this or save. But for these actual cameras, I'm going to go ahead and click on the front view, or you could also click on this little icon right here in the front view. This selects the camera, and I'm going to open up the attribute editor by pressing Control A. And if I scroll down just a bit, I can see right here, the near clip plane, it's already relatively small, but the far clip plane, it's not that large. It's only set to 32. I'm going to change this to 1000 at least. And you can see that now I can see my object. And I'm going to go ahead and select the top view as well. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to change this to 1000. And since I'm doing it for that camera, I might as well select my side view and change this one as well. So now you'll be able to see all of your models. Let me go ahead and let's go back to the HumanIK. And for the front view and top view, I'm going to go ahead and select them within the outliner and press Control H to hide them again. Of course, I could still view my scenes, but I'm not going to be able to, or I could still view within my scenes, but I can't see or select within my views my cameras, which is fine. This sphere that I created, I'm just going to delete it. I was just using that as a demo. Okay, going back to our sample, what I like to do with this character, I'm going to try to create the contact. So I'm going to select the hips. I drop it down, and so that her hips bend a bit. And what I want to do, I'm going to start off with the right ankle. Let me go ahead and switch to the perspective view for right now. I'm going to go ahead and move this foot back. And I want to move it back so much so that before it starts to do something like this, because I want the front of the foot to be touching on the floor here. Because what I want to do now is, like, say, for example, if I click on here, this is either selecting that control, or if I could even click on this little arrow to select this specific control, because I could also pin the translate and the rotation. Let me select the ankle. I want to now, if I move this, you can see how that is now pinned. So I want to try to create this where the foot is coming up, which this now allows me let's see. Now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and go back here and turn off those pins. And the reason I did that is because I want to push the leg back because I want some separation right here. I want to see the leg. This is where really the front leg is about to make contact, hit the be flat. It's not there just yet, but I want to go ahead and put it there. I'm going to go ahead and maybe move this in just a bit as well towards the center line. I'm not going to make my character walk a tightrope, though I could. So I'm just going to bring it a little bit closer. And now I'm going to go to my left ankle. And I'm going to go ahead and slide it forward. But this time what I want to do, and this is where it's right now it's already making contact. I'm going to switch to my rotate tool. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate the ankle up. So this is right before it makes contact. And I can see right here where it's at. Let's go back to my perspective view. And what I'm going to do, I'll just work on the legs for right now. But we also have the arms. You could pose the arms as well. Let me pose the arms, but I'll just start working with the legs. And for this one, I want to make sure that I just have the body part, not the full body. I switch to my move tool. And this arm should be, let's see, I'm going to move this one closer, and then I'm going to push this arm down. For my walk cycle, I could be as animated as much as I want. I can see right here, for example, the elbow is kind of pointing out or inward. I want to point it outwards, but if I select it and move it, it's going to move the entire arm. So instead, what I'm going to do is say, for example, okay, I like the placement. I'm going to pin the right wrist for the translate so that I could select the elbow effector and I can move this. You can see how I'm able to move the placement of where the elbow's at. So now they have that. I could go back to this one. I could further adjust this. Let's see. This is, there we go. Let's see, what type of walk? Do I want a power walk? If this is going to be a power walk, I'll do something like this. Well, we're going to do a power walk. I'm going to bring this one in. Gonna lower it. Let's see. Here we go. Like we said, if it's power walk, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna lower the hips down even more because we want big strides, big strides. So I'm gonna go ahead and now first I'm bringing her hips forward to see that right leg where it's at. So now what I could do, I'm gonna switch to my left ankle, bring this forward. I still want that slight bend. And you know what I just realized? My arms are backwards. This arm should be forward. Right arm should be forward. Because whenever you're walking, your left leg forward, right leg forward, or right hand forward. Excuse me. That would have been silly. So we could see that maybe right here, what I want to do, I'd select the elbow. I could raise it up, change the placement. So we could either click on the effectors here, or you could use the HumanIK. So right now, I'm just posing my character, trying to find the right placement. I'm not going to animate her hands just yet or do anything. Let me select this one. Let me push this arm. You can see where this arm should be back, but check out the elbow. It's like it shouldn't necessarily be twisting like that. So I'm going to pin that, and I'm going to change the placement of the elbow. There we go. So that pose looks better. Like I said, power walk. What I'm going to do now that I kind of have this pose and I have the, let's see, I want this out a bit. Here we go. So now what I'm going to do for this one, I want to, I'm going to manipulate the hips a bit. Right now, the spine hips are basically going straight down. What I want to do, I want to use my rotate tool. I do two things. For whatever hip is coming forward, I want it to be a little bit lower, just a bit. And we're gonna fix her in a moment. But then what I also want to do, whatever hip is coming forward, I want to rotate this towards just slightly. Or or we could exaggerate it. Because now what we need to do, we need to counter it. And this is where I'm going to select the top right here, this joint, which is let's see, which one this is this one? The chest end effector. Because I'm going to go to my front view right here. If I want my textures, I can press 7. I'm sorry, 6. And these are going to do two things. I'm going to rotate it. See, this is the green one is Y to straighten her. But then I want to turn her by clicking on the Z so that we get this nice curvature as well. At this point, all right, I have these different settings. Of course, we could also switch to the side view if you want to change some of the settings as well, or for example, maybe for the hips, I want to face her forward, and then I'm going to have her kind of like her chest, giving like a little arch in her back, kind of chest going forward. And so let's see. So now that we have this, I'm going to select this one. I'm just checking just slight rotations. There we go. And at this frame, I'm going to go ahead and press now. I'm going to press S on my keyboard, S or SAM at frame 1. And what this does, I now have a keyframe at frame 1. And now what I could do, I could go ahead and say, if this was going to be 24 frames, so at frame 25, now I don't know how far I want my character to go, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that, but I could say like, okay, at frame 23 should be my next keyframe, but I don't know how far that next step should be. So what I'm going just to do for right now, I could go to say frame 23, and what I want to do is, so like I know that this is going to be the next step. Seeing where this ankle is at, I want this one to stay put. So at frame 13, it's right here. This is where the next contact will be at. So just imagine this pose, but opposite. So at this point, let's see, I'm going to, at frame 13, I'm going to try to I'm going to rotate this back down. And in fact, I want to make sure that everything else that's pinned, I'm going to unpin it. I'm going to unpin these two legs, or sorry, the ankle, the rotate, because I'm going to now select the hips. And now notice right here, because I made sure that my auto keyframe is turned on. And as I moved to frame 13 and moved the foot, it added a keyframe. Every time I change a value or change something, for example, I'm going to move my hips now. I'm going to move this forward. Notice that this is now has a keyframe. So technically they're moving. Right now it's like I'm not, this is not my animation that I want. Oh, you know what? Let me undo this. Let me go back because I want to turn this to full body. So when I move this, look how the right leg now drags. That's what I kind of want for right now, because now I could select this one because this is supposed to be forward right before it makes its contact. So I'm going to switch to my side view. Let's see, I need to make some more adjustments. So let me go back to my foot right here, because what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and pin the translate, or sorry, pin the rotate. I'm going to unpin these two, the translate and rotation, because now I want to move these up. I want to make sure that I have the wrong one. I want to make sure that it's just the body part. Let's see. I'm going to pin both of those. There we go. Because I want now this one. Again, I'm making my second contact. I'm going to go ahead and move my hips forward. For the right foot, I'm going to go ahead and drop this down. And I'm not going to change the height of my hips because these should be at the same height. But as you can see, as I continue to do this, this is what I would continue to do for all of my different uh, different keyframes for my walk cycle. So I'm setting this one up right here. Let's see, my right foot. I didn't move this one. So right now they're just kind of sliding. This right foot here, I just remembered I want this a little bit closer. Now you're going to see it's going to slide a bit as it goes. So I'm just going to make sure that I don't have to unkey or unlock. So that's correct for right now. Now my hips are still pointed to the side. Now I'm not going to necessarily change those just yet. Because I'm working on the feet. I guess now I can change the hips. Though the arms are not correct just yet. So the arms I basically just want to switch around. So this arm should be back here. So I'm going to go ahead and move the arm back. And then the left arm, the wrist, I'm going to bring this forward. You can see that where the elbow is at, I want the elbow to be up a little bit more, kind of out. So I need to pin the translate. Pinning the translate just keeps that so that I could change the placement of the elbow. Okay, here we go. And now what I need to do, I'm going to go back to my front view because I like doing it from here. I need to rotate these. So now what I need to do, I need to counter them. So whatever is, whichever leg is going forward, I want the to be a little bit higher. And I need to rotate this so that they are going this way. And you can see what's happening with the knees. It's fixing the placement of the knees. So again, I'm doing a big exaggeration because the upper chest effector is going to counter. And now I'm going to rotate this. So we get this type of movement. So I'm going to change the placement of the right hand. Though I think it kind of works good, but I do want to see what it looks like. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And then I would do this all over again at frame 25 for the next contact, which is the same as frame 21. One thing that you could do to help you is knowing where these things are, where these feet are at. I want to try something. I'm going to go to create. I'm going to create a placement marker. I'm going to create a cube and I'm going to place the cube just right here so I can see where it's at. I'm going to duplicate it. Let's see, because I want to try something. I'm going to go to frame 1 and say, for example, you know what? This is the frame that I want, but I want it at frame 25. So maybe I should put this one at the heel. Actually, and this one I don't necessarily need because this is where it should be at. Because what I want to do, I want to copy this frame and I need to make sure that none of the pins are there. Because what I'm going to do, if you click and hold down the middle mouse button and I'm dragging with the middle mouse button to frame 25, I'm going to select the hips. I'm going to go ahead and move these. Let's see. I want to move the full body. And was this at the back of the foot? I don't remember. So what I'm trying to do, oh no, it was this foot, correct? Because I think this is it takes one step, then the next step. So here's step 1, step 2. Okay, so I just need to move it just a little bit closer. But you see, I was able to use some of my previous keyframes. So I'll leave that there. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just move this off to the side. If I need it, again, I could use it. If not, I could always delete it. But now I'm going to go a couple of frames and I will start because it's moving forward, but this is not an animation. It is, but it's not a good walk cycle. I would continue to uh, add more keyframes. I would go right here. I would then add the recoil. So I'll just do this one, and then I'll show you an example that I've already made. But now that I'm right here, I don't necessarily want these to control my movements, but I could see where that foot is at. I'm going to, and what I'm going to do, because I want to start from right here. I'm going to click and drag with my middle mouse button to frame 4 so that I could click on this ankle. I'm going to rotate this down so that it's keyframing this. So you can see that this is where I want this one to be. The hips should now be going forward. Let's see. Nope. Do I have? So I'm going to go ahead and move the hips forward. And right here, this is where I'm going to lower the hips just a little bit. And this right ankle, I don't want this stretch. What I want at this point, I want this leg starting to come up. Again, we said power walk, so we start to get this movement right here. So at this point, this right wrist is starting to come down just a bit. This left wrist let's see, let me go back. I like the right wrist where it's starting to just come down a bit. But this one right here, I actually want this to rotate out a bit. I like the placement of the elbow. So I'm going to try this. I want to try to lock the elbow where it's at because I want, okay, it's not doing it. I was hoping that I could lock where the elbow is at so that this one I just wanted to kind of go up. I could, I believe, select the bone and use my rotate. I just want to do this there. And then I go to the next one. This should be the passing phase. So this is, these legs should be a little bit more passing. So I'm gonna select the hips. The left foot, I'm gonna leave as is. So I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna click. Let's see, this actually looks okay where it's at. But what I don't like is because of my keyframes, the arms are trying to go back. So you know what, I'm just gonna click and drag to frame 7. I'm gonna use my move tool let's see, I want the hips to kind of be above the foot. I'm gonna raise this up. The right leg now should be coming forward. Oh, one thing that we didn't do that I'll address a little bit later. The rotation. The rotation is still stuck, and I could fix that later. Put the foot out. No, I don't want to put the foot down just yet. Her foot's gonna clip. That's because of that rotation that we have right now. So I'll adjust that a little bit in a moment. So this hand where it's at actually is pretty good. Both of them are kind of where they should be at. But here, let me address the hips. Oh, you know what? Let me just go, well, one more we need right here, which is going to be the high point. So I'll do it at frame 10, the high point. So that's good. I'm going to go ahead and go right here. Again, I'm going to start at the hips. And this is where the hip, let's see, I don't want to move let's say I could move this forward. You know, I want, she's tipping over. That's funny. High point, this is where the foot is going to be the highest. And this foot, the right foot, I'm going to put it up higher. Okay, but here, let me address the hips right here. We have extra keyframes. Let me just temporarily save this. This is where I want to go into my Windows animation editor's graph editor. And I want to go specifically in the hips. And I could see that right here, I have some keyframes, some keys that I don't want. The rotation for X, Y, and Z are static until I go to this one, which I rotated to the side. So I'm going to delete those. And by deleting those, I can now see that I have that rotation. I need to do the same, the translate X, Y, and Z. I'm going to leave that for right now, but the rotation for the upper chest, I'm going to delete specifically the rotations. Let's see, the translates. I could probably delete these as well so that it's a little bit more smoother. And let me switch to my front view. Since this is orthographic, you'll be able to see the changes. I might change the knee for the left knee. I'll fix this where there's a slight clipping right here. So here, I'll just start moving this just a little bit out for each one. Here, that one should be fine. But this hopefully, oh, I put it at the wrong place. I don't want the keyframe right there. I want it at frame 4. And maybe right here, what I also want to do, I want to maybe rotate the foot so that the foot is going this way, which if I do that, I could, since I have the foot selected, we could look at the keyframes here. And we could also make any type of adjustments. Let me just select the rotate and we can see what's happening. So I might decide that maybe for some of these keyframes, I might want to change some of them, or it could also be the move. But I'm going to go ahead and I think it's the rotation, how it's going from one to the other. I might want to just get rid of this one here. Let's see what happens. So this is just half a walk cycle. So hopefully this is useful for you. I'm gonna go ahead because just looking at this, it's already over 45 minutes. So I don't want to continue to spend more of this time, but let me go ahead and save this and just show you a different version. I'm going to go ahead and save this file. And let me just show you a more completed version. Let me open up a previous file that I was working on. This was a demo file. Let's see. I believe it was this one that I created. Continue. And so let me go and stop it. Let me turn on the character set so you can see the keyframes that are there. This is within the front view, but this is walk across. Let me turn off the X-ray joints. So this is not the power walk, but a little bit normal walking. So I hope that this video was helpful. Thank you for watching this entire video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video. Good luck and see you later.